Welcome to Business Over Beer, where entrepreneurs, small business owners, and people passionate about what they do bring us their stories and their favorite beer. Hosted by Ben Surratt, Jonathan Kaler, and Jason Knope, it's time to get down to business and drink some beer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the second biggest podcast in the Pacific Northwest. We are still on the heels of those pesky Sasquatch hunters, but I know this episode will bring us to the apex. This is, of course, Business Over Beer. I am your co-host, Ben Surratt. Alongside me, as usual, is the man of the hour, the terror of power. Some people call him the space cowboy. Some people call him Man Bun. Some people call him Touchdown Jesus. Some people call him the Spotsville Monster. But we know him as Spartacus. Mr. Jonathan Kaler, happy Friday, my brother.
Happy Friday to you, my friend. I am Spartacus. I have led you here. What was that? The Spotsville Monster?
Spotsville Monster. Look it up.
Oh man, there's a new one. You never cease to amaze me with your creativity, Ben. I'm so blessed to be friends with someone who sees all of the characteristics that I bring to the table. Hey, and speaking of characters, guess who else we got with us? We have got the gangsta of Hazeldale. Are you guys down with the KNOPP?
Yeah, you know me.
He is the gift that keeps on giving. Jason Knope, welcome to Business Over Beer, my friend. How you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling fantastic. I've been waiting all week for this. This is.
Are you sure? Maybe you need a cup of coffee or something. You want to try that again?
There's a Red Bull.
I am feeling fantastic tonight.
There you go.
Excited to be here. We have a fantastic guest tonight. You guys are creative with your names. I can't wait any longer to get into this. So
let's do it.
Start it. Tonight we have Michael Pan with Pan's Mushroom Jerky. He's the founder of the company. And I can't wait to hear his story, guys.
Michael Pan, welcome to Business Over Beer, my friend. How you feeling?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are sure welcome. So it's been a strange year and a wild ride for all of us this year. But you've had quite the journey this year so far. Off just kind of the coming right off of the Shark Tank appearance, which I can't wait to get into that. But man, you guys are just running 50,000 miles an hour, aren't you?
Something like that. Yeah, we're running, stumbling. Something just wildly out of control forward, I think. But yeah, it's been the response since the show has been incredibly overwhelming. I can't even. It's pretty incredible. So we've been very lucky considering this insane year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome. And when you've got a good product, good things happen. So that's great. So why don't we start there? We always like to start with your business. So why don't you just give us the 50,000-foot view of Panco Foods and Pan's Mushroom Jerky and kind of what you're into.
Yeah, so again, my name is Michael Pan. I'm the founder of Pan's, and we make a product called Pan's Mushroom Jerky. Apparently, I'm in love with my name because it's all over the place. But we make a jerky out of shiitake mushrooms. There's no meat, and it's actually based on a family recipe of mine that I came across years ago, and we now make it here in Portland, Oregon. We have four flavors that we sell today, locally and all over the country. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, and every business has its journey, and I've definitely had one.
Well,
Awesome.
you combine the pandemic with a Shark Tank appearance, and I can only imagine the goods and the challenges that come out of all of that. So, well, I can't wait to get into that and hear your story. But this is the Business Over Beer podcast, Michael. This is the beer portion of the program. Now, typically we ask our guests to bring a beer to share, but you shared with me that you don't drink beer. So we have brought beers ourselves to drink that we're going to talk about. So, Canope, why don't you kick us off, bud?
Yeah. So tonight.
Oh, he's got Grandma's cooler even.
Yeah,
Grandma's
cooler. And I got myself a gigantic Kolsch-tastic. And you guys know I like the lighter beers. Great at barbecues. But you know what goes really good with barbecues? Some Pan's barbecue jerky.
Dude,
That's a sweet pairing, bro.
I am going to crack this beer open and enjoy some Pan's barbecue mushroom jerky with my Kolsch tonight.
I can't wait to hear how that goes together.
that looks delicious.
That looks delicious,
dude.
Mr. Ben, what do you got?
I'm glad you asked, Canope, because I have Grandma Patty's cooler, and I'm thinking there's something in here.
Oops.
I got a beer. It is the Backwoods Big Cedar IRA. An
That's one of
Imperial
your
Red.
favorites, isn't it?
It is one of my 100% favorites. I'm kind of hungry too, though, Canope. If I reach in here, you think I'll...
Dig deep.
Got some Doritos?
It's Dorito. No, it's... No way.
Oh, the OG.
I got the OG. I got the OG jerky. This is awesome.
I
Well,
can't tell if Michael's loving this or hating this.
Hey,
I recommend you put it on eBay immediately because I got about thousands of customers waiting for their order right now.
my
And they might
eBay
have-
is Surat.
No way.
Never.
Well, gentlemen, I brought, speaking of wild rides, I've got the Wild Ride Brew, the Nut Crusher Peanut Butter Porter. And
That's
I kind of took a chance on this one because
It's delicious.
it's such a delicious beer. But, one of my favorite cuisines, of course, is Thai food. And so my thought was, well, maybe a zesty Thai snack would go good with the peanut butter. I don't know. We're going to give it a try. So that's what I got.
I'm biased, but these are all great pairings. Very nice
All right.
intro. That's fantastic.
I'm ready.
My goodness.
Well, Michael, I'm sorry you couldn't partake in his.
But he does have a drink. What are you drinking?
what are
What's
you
making you
drinking?
happy there tonight, Michael?
A milk tea from Taste of Asian Tea down the street on 164th. So I just have a milk tea that they actually gave it to me for free. I couldn't believe it. They were just super nice, and I'm gonna enjoy this. But I don't drink, unfortunately.
Don't say unfortunately. There's nothing unfortunate about it.
Yeah.
No.
Why?
But I'm
good, man.
partaking. I'll join in with my milk tea. So
Perfect.
Well, I should also say that I want to give a shout out to my new friend at New Seasons, where I grabbed the beer and the jerky. She was checking me out, and she goes, "Isn't that Pan's mushroom jerky just awesome? I love it." And I said, "I love it too." And guess what? He's going to be on our show tonight. She goes, "No way. What's the name of your show?" So shout out to my new friend at New Seasons. She loves Michael Pan. She loves Pan's mushroom jerky. And of course, New Seasons, they've got it in stock. So right over there on 164th, go get it while it's hot. And their
sorry,
beer
eBay.
selection.
eBay, I'm sorry, I opened it. So you got to go to New Seasons.
No, I'm eating it.
And I forgot how good New Seasons beer selection is. Their beer selection is outrageous. So, all right, pros, gentlemen.
All right, pros.
Smells
So,
good.
Michael, should we eat first and then take a sip, or sip and then eat? What do you suggest?
Oh my goodness. I say you eat first and then you down with some beer. I mean,
Deal.
I wouldn't want to, contaminate your palate before you try it. So.
Look at that. Oh my gosh.
So, tell you a little bit about it. The original is our most simple and umami flavor. Got the most mushroom flavor that comes out. And then the Zesty Tide's got a little bit of a kick. It's actually our most popular. Barbecue is kind of a familiar, sweet, and smoky taste. But yeah, those two actually are our most popular flavors, the Thai and the barbecue. But you went with the OG. That's also just a nice, simple umami flavor. So,
Oh, it's fantastic.
thanks for trying it. Appreciate it.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
our
mean,
goal
it's-
is to try to get that nice texture that meat has, but obviously without the meat. So,
Can I eat this, or is that?
Oh, it's perfect with the Kolsch too. Oh, it's fantastic.
all right.
Hold on.
So first of all, the Zesty Thai is so good. It's my favorite. I love the Asian spices, and it's got a nice little kick to it, but it's not super spicy. It's enough to let you know it's there.
Right.
The texture is great. I mean, if you love mushrooms, it is very umami. It is very mushroomy, which I love it. And I'll tell you, with the peanut butter porter, it's a home run. It really is, because you got the dark umami of the porter with the sweetness of the peanut butter, and the richness of the beer pairs really nice with the spice and the richness of the jerky.
Okay.
That's a home run.
It's not better than mine, dude. Sorry.
No?
This is because with regular jerky, beef jerky, you have, it's more of a you have to chew and chew and chew and chew, and you get the flavor with the mushroom jerky. The flavor is all in the back of your palate immediately, and it's hearty. It's more hearty, like, in my opinion. This is just me. I don't eat a lot of jerky, but I've had beef jerky, and this is more of a flavor. It hits your palate, and it cleanses it immediately. And you take the red beer with the malt. And dude, I'm telling you, it like brings all of that up front. It's all the malt is up front. I don't know why. So Michael, dude, pair these two together, okay? A red beer,
Okay.
and
your original OG
Okay.
mushroom jerky, okay?
Gotta reach out for some cross promotion with them. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, I mean, the guy's a backwoods brewery, man, down in Portland and out in Carson.
Oh, nice.
That would be awesome.
I'll reach out.
Oh man,
Man,
delicious, man. Good job. Love it.
delicious. So
I
good.
can tell you, this is really good. This barbecue flavor is fantastic. And I normally don't eat mushrooms. I don't like mushrooms.
Yeah, you're not a big mushroom guy at all, are you?
But this, I could tear through this easily. Yeah,
All right.
fantastic.
It's so addicting. I can't even stop.
It really is, dude. I'm
I
telling
ate
you.
this whole bag in like 30 seconds.
All right. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
You looking for any investors? I'd be happy to.
Who's that?
You want any giving away any equity or?
Hey, you want any taste testers? I'll taste test for you.
There you go.
I'm on a roll. I'm handing out equity every other week. So the show will come. We have 70
next week.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I really appreciate the feedback and giving it a try. So
Oh,
not
of
many
course,
know what to
man.
expect. Not many know what to expect. So I appreciate you digging in and Knope, I know if you don't like mushrooms, we encounter plenty of people that don't like mushrooms. So I appreciate you giving it a try.
Definitely. I'm always willing to try some, but the benefit here is that it tastes so damn good that for others who don't like mushrooms, I can honestly tell them, don't worry about it. It's going to taste good.
Some people, it's funny. I don't know if it's some people don't like the mushiness of mushrooms. It's the texture a lot of times that people that don't like mushrooms hate.
Yeah,
so
that was me for a long time.
And that makes sense. I get it. And I tell people, I'm like, I get you might not like it because of the mushiness, the slimy, but our product it's got a more texture and toughness to it. So I try to encourage you. I'm like, if you don't like it, I don't take any offense, but give it a try. If it's texture wise, it's different. So
yes.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I want to know, so Michael, you pulled a drawer open one day and you found these recipes and you're flipping through them and you're like, mushroom jerky.
Well, then I ran out.
And then you ran.
Yeah. But
so tell me about that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, so I'll rewind a little bit further. My background is actually engineering. I was a double E coming out of college and worked at Motorola in its heyday. I'm a little older, but when they were like really Motorola, worked for them for a long time in the Chicagoland area. And, it was great. I learned a lot of great things. I learned from a lot of really smart people. And it was a great job, paid well. And I managed to survive all the ups and downs that Motorola had. And, but I ultimately felt a little, unfulfilled. And so, what happened was I like a lot of people when they are starting, we had all these ideas amongst friends. You're just always chatting about what can we do? I want to do something of my own. And like everyone, I was a fan of Shark Tank, watching that as well. And just kind of, I was raised my whole life to go the corporate route, go work for someone, put your money in the mattress, and then hopefully you get a nice 401k and you go retire. But I had that itch and I was kind of seeking out something. And what happened was I took a trip to visit family in Malaysia. And by the way, I was born and raised in Mississippi, of all places. I know I certainly sound like it, and I have a Southern accent, but my whole life, I absolutely loved growing up there, but my whole life I felt a bit disconnected from my heritage. And so when I had the opportunity to visit family in Malaysia, my father, he was born there, raised in a fishing village, and we happened to go visit. And it was kind of this like eye-opening experience where they, not only meeting family members for the first time, so I was like 2 years old, they were excited to show me all the sites, their culture and all this kind of stuff. And it was like, it felt good for me, but most importantly, they fed me like everything. And so I was eating my way through the trip. And on one of these visits, I literally I met a cousin I'd never met before. And he put a bowl of food on his coffee table. And I'm just like, eating up and I'm like, oh man, what is this? It's really good. And I initially thought it was a pork product, and I quickly found out that no, it wasn't. And he told me this is actually a mushroom. And so I found out that he had been making this mushroom snack because he's vegetarian. He'd been making it for himself, for his family, for his friends, and selling it locally in the area. And can
I interrupt real quick? Are you vegetarian at all? Or are you vegan?
I was not for a long time, and recently have been more, I would say, plant-based is what I consider myself. Basically, been cutting out most of the meat from a diet, which I never thought I'd do. But so what happened? And so anyway, so I met him, and he'd been making it for his friends and family, and they found that they were having a hard time finding foods that not only really tasted good as vegetarian food, but also a really nice texture. And so they found the mushrooms were obviously really healthy, but they were also just really satisfying texture wise, if prepared the right way. So they, when I heard about this and I kind of learned about, this is kind of a coming home trip for me. It felt like it opened my eyes to this culture that had been making foods and recipes and using ingredients and cooking techniques to mimic the taste and texture of meat. And so after this visit, I was blown away by, the food. I was blown away by this product and the story that I felt connected to. And that combined with my general, like, I want to do something else. It kind of turned it into, okay, how do I get this out to the rest of the world? Because this is really good and other people need to try it. This is back in like 2007. And so this was actually before, vegan was still vegan, like very niche. Natural foods, it was still kind of coming out that Whole Foods is still growing quite a bit. And also jerky was still kind of becoming artisan, right? It was still Jack's Links and et cetera, but then Cred started coming out. And so I kind of knew that A, we had a good product, B, these emerging markets were coming out. And I felt like I had a good idea, but I had no idea necessarily how to do it because my experience wasn't in food.
Man.
So that was the start of it.
And so at that point, you were still at Motorola at that point in 2007?
Yeah.
And so you were like a product engineer, right? So you had a lot of experience in like product development, right?
Right. And so my background was, again, double E, and I worked my way up from like, being in a lab to eventually starting to manage programs where we launched products from, helped with quoting business to working with the design teams to design and develop, and then all the way to, launching the product and then working with manufacturing, to scale it up. And I was kind of in this engineering management role where I had to essentially launch products and work with different teams to do so. And looking back, I mean, that honestly kind of helped quite a bit, actually, even though it was a different field. It just kind of gave me a sense of what it took to get something off the ground, but albeit not in food. But yeah, and then when what happened was, to get started, I was like, how do I get started? And I think luckily, while I wish I would have started early and beaten the plant-based craze, I guess, in hindsight, the timing couldn't be any better, actually, because I think it was too early at that time. And not only that, but I was able to kind of bootstrap and work and then kind of test this market and learn how to start a food business on the side. Like everyone, I Googled everything, bought books, and kind of learned through my mistakes. And that actually ultimately helped me quite a bit to get to where I am today. And what I did for a long time was my family would actually make it for me, and then I would actually import it. So I learned how to import it, and then I would reach out to different stores and try to introduce this new concept of mushroom jerky. And everyone's just like, what? Why do we need this? And I totally understand why. It's completely weird at the time, especially, and new. And but I knew we had something at some point that would, I think, do well and hit a niche market that would grow over time. And so for a number of years, I imported it, sold it on the side as kind of a side hustle. And what ended up happening actually is that wasn't my first full leap in entrepreneurship. Like I said before, how you get together with friends, you try to come up with ideas. You want to start, something with friends of yours. And so,
like a podcast.
There you go. Yeah. So
for example,
so I decided, a friend of mine, really good friend of mine, we came up with this idea to make a sports app. And this is actually during the heyday of like social networks, and apps were not saturated like they are today. And the concept was basically, we always banter, we're big sports fans, we're always bantering about who knows more about sports. And, like, he thinks he could be a coach. I'm like, you're out of your mind. You don't know anything about soccer. How could you be a coach? And so we kind of came up with this concept of like, well, what if you could measure that and like measure how credible you are as a fan? And so from that idea, we launched this product called Cred back in 2012. And luckily he had a career in Boston that he created for himself and had a network there. And he was able to raise money, and we were part of the TechStars class, and we ended up, turning that idea into actual product. And so there was a 4-person team that I was a part of, and I was part of the product, basically the product guy. And that was my real first leap into entrepreneurship. But I always had Pan's mushroom jerky on the side and still kind of, holding that steady until I was ready for it. So I kept that going, although my friend didn't love that. He wanted me always on this other product. But I did that for about 4 years, kept Pan's mushroom jerky on the side. We didn't get to where we wanted to be. We wanted to be this, the goal was to get 1 billion users and all this kind of stuff. We didn't get that far, but we did end up selling it, which was nice. So that product actually still exists in the market. But
what is it called again?
It's called Fan Cred, like short for fan credibility. You can still download it, I think. But and we built that up and we ended in, I think, 2016. And then I was like, all right, do I go get a real job? Finally, I've done this insane, startup, especially in this tech world with apps, and like, I'm so jaded. I'm honestly a little jaded from that whole experience because of there was this like social networks kind of sports app that we tried to build in a very hot time for apps, right? And people were launching apps like crazy to get people's attention. And when we sold it, I said, I either need to go in full time to Pan's Mushroom Jerky or I need to go get a real job. And I decided, I think I'm ready to go full time now that I had that experience of all the ups and downs that you go through. And I think it actually helped me kind of get to where I am today, just going through that experience. So, and then in 2016, I decided to go full time. And that's when I was actually in Boston at the time and decided to come out west to be near family, and spent a lot of time basically trying to reformulate our family's recipe. What does the branding look like? What flavors do I have? And that took a while, and ended up finally launching in early 2018. And that's when we launched, kind of did a soft launch first half of 2018. And then we did I think a full launch sometime in the summer of that year. And I don't know if it references the show, but I would say I've had 2 birthdays, kind of the conceptual side hustle hobby. And then that was back in 2008. And then I think really as a business, I consider 2018 as kind of our birthday.
I love that, dude. I love that.
Yeah. I didn't have a straight path. I didn't have a straight path. It just kind of went this way and that, but.
Love it.
So I asked you earlier, when was the last time you got more than 2 hours of sleep? And it sounds like, if I can follow my notes correctly, sometime pre-2007 was the last time you got a full night's sleep. That's what it sounds like.
Absolutely.
When you still had a StarTAC.
Motorola. StarTAC times, Razor, those
the Razor.
Those 2-way pagers, we were like, every Motorolan was always like, we're so cool. Jay-Z's rocking his time for it. We were pretty dorks, but it was.
I had a Razor, and that was an awesome phone because
phone.
it was so thin, man. And
the Razor
I forgot to take it out of my pocket, Ben, and my wife put it through the washing machine.
Oh, well, that didn't work out.
The Razor didn't make it.
They're on Razor like 25 now or something. They're still around, apparently. I don't know.
They got the flat screen one now.
I think so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ex-Motorolans around. It's pretty funny, especially in the Midwest. But
this episode brought to you by Motorola.
Man, free shout out for Motorola. You get paid tonight. But yeah, it's been a journey, and that's why, I mean, I don't want to get into it too far, but that's the emotions I felt on the show were real. I mean, I felt it all at once after the show. So yeah.
So so in 2018 you launched this product.
Yeah.
Maybe just kind of talk about just that process. How did you set up manufacturing? Because you had to make the shift from importing to manufacturing. Are you making this in your kitchen? Did you have to go get a commercial kitchen? Did you contract it out? Like, how did you learn all of those aspects of running a food business to even get it to a point where you could launch it?
Oh man, it wasn't easy, and I am no chef. I order in. I love eating. I mean, I love eating, but I'm not like a food maker. It's fun every so often, but I prefer eating it from someone else. But luckily, in my case, I had something to start on a little bit, at least with my family's, the way they were doing it. So that was a baseline, but I honestly, I figured all of it out myself by Googling and learning so my family's recipe actually had eggs in it, for instance. He's a vegetarian. So it actually had egg whites in it to bind some of the seasonings. And so at the time I was like, I don't want that. I want organic. I want it vegan, all this stuff. And so I did a lot of research on my own, and luckily Google was around, obviously. And I was able to kind of learn about the different ingredients that are used to substitute, X, Y, Z. And luckily it's, at the time, plant-based and vegetarianism was getting more and more popular, and people were blogging about it and talking about the things they did to replace, all these things. And I leveraged what was on the internet. I tested it over and over again in my apartment, and just kept going and going. And I finally got to a point where I found something that worked. And at the time, you could do some stuff obviously or you can do stuff at home up to a certain level. But I went ahead and started. Luckily, I did some markets in Portland and around town at Vancouver as well. That kind of allowed me to test early versions to see what worked and what didn't. And after doing that, I actually ended up meeting other food makers that, through talking to them, they're like, what are you doing? Where do you need to make it? And luckily I found someone who needed someone else to share kitchen time. And so that was kind of my first like big step for me of like, all right, I'm ready to take on whatever 2 days a week with you to make the product and actually start selling it. And so through that, basically networking around the community, which I'll give Portland and Vancouver that the community is big, but it's really tight, and people know each other through various connections. And I was really lucky. I was able to find a situation that worked for me kitchen wise. So after I did that, I mean, honestly, same thing where every stage I had to figure out how do I get more and more along the way. And at the same time, I got to sell it too, right? You're wearing all the hats. You got to manufacture, you have to source ingredients, you got to go, sell at a market, and with little to no cash either. And luckily, everyone's financial situation is different, but luckily I had a little bit of runway from just old 401k money that I had from Motorola that I cashed out. And that was kind of how I really started, being able to pay for, my own expenses to get through that really early phase. But to answer your question, I figured out how to make it the way I wanted it to. And then luckily through networking, I kind of found a situation where I could share a kitchen.
My goodness. I mean, you're a one-man show doing all this. I mean, here you are, you're an engineer, and you got to put a sales hat on. What were those initial sales channels like? You kind of mentioned kind of going around. I mean, were you doing the farmers market tour? Were you going into retail, or were you contacting distributors? Kind of what were some of those sales channels that you were exploring, and what worked for you early on?
Yeah, I literally downloaded every co-op. Like there was some list on the internet that gave me like every co-op in every state. I still have the papers actually. It was like hundreds of pages that I just printed out every state. And I don't know, I forgot what California had the most. I remember that was like a thick stack. And I literally just like cold emailed and called everyone. That's all I did for, I don't know, a long time. And luckily, I mean, I had a fairly new concept, so that it drew people in. Like, what is this? And this was back in like whatever 2018, 2017. And luckily, I mean, I caught people's eye, which was good. Some people liked it, some people didn't. My early iterations, But finally, and so I sold it, and I kind of had like a handful, like 30 stores around the country. And then I also had a little bit of Amazon presence as well as our own website. But honestly, I took the leap and just started going to some of the food trade shows, and they're really not cheap, nor are they necessarily easy to get into. But that going to some of those ended up, I think, benefiting because people that I had probably cold emailed and kind of like, they may have glossed over the email, but they saw that what mushroom jerky was. They were at the shows typically, and they saw me, and they made the connection. They were able to try it there. So that actually, the shows ended up, and we got some pretty decent press early on about bringing this new concept. And so that really helped, I think, get us into some of the bigger, some of the early chains that we got into. And then, yeah, I mean, boots in the ground, I'm a firm believer in, any product, but especially ours, you got to get people to try it. So we sampled like crazy at any kind of farm, any kind of market. I didn't do the farmer's market here in Vancouver, but we did the Vancouver night market was going on at that time. And that was a big one I was just trying to do any kind of high foot traffic festival or market where people are always, they're looking for stuff to eat, and they're also looking for just new things. And so we have a good, really, really good product just to kind of have that discovery element that you want to find in markets that you're walking around to and try. And so I'd say a bit of the trade show, and also just making sure you're on the boots on the ground of going to these markets are really important to do.
That's awesome, man. I think when normal people, not business owners, not people who have tried to be entrepreneurs, watch a show like Shark Tank, and they see all this money being thrown around, or even people getting rejected, it is entertaining, but I don't think you can quite grasp what is really happening with these business owners. And to hear your story, just to hear what you've been talking about, the journey that you've been on, I mean, that is what it's all about. And that's why it's so satisfying to see somebody like you get an investment on a show like Shark Tank, because you have trudged the streets. You have done it on your own, by yourself, through goods and bads. I'm sure there was a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of bills that were worried about getting paid, and years in and years out of that, but sticking with it to get to that point. I hand it to you, and that's what makes your story just so satisfying, man. So just congratulations on just getting to this point. But it doesn't happen without perseverance and hard work and dedication and belief in yourself, and I think that's what you've demonstrated over the last 13 years.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I can't wait to hear how you've had to pivot in COVID-19. I really want to hear about your experience on Shark Tank. I'm hoping maybe you can give us a little behind the curtain view of what that experience is like for those of us who do like the show and watch the show and know the show. But before we get to that, Ben, you look thirsty, bro.
I am thirsty.
Join us next week for part 2 of this episode. You can be sure we'll be talking more business and drinking more beer. Business Over Beer reminds you to always drink responsibly. Our theme song is Idiocracy by Christian Leo. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Business Over Beer, a TH3 Entertainment production.